Good afternoon. We had before in the podium discussion that we do not have sexy plastic parts. Okay, I have some sexy plastic parts maybe. This is a plastic part made with a partner with Engel, for example, with the Rocktool technology, and this part is a MuCell part. So I think everybody can see from the distance it's not sexy. So when we switch on the Rocktool, the part is sexy, I hope. Or that's sexy enough. The backsides, they unsexy, is clear. But I like to say, and I like to show you that there are also sexy parts. There are also parts we can show the customers. They have some value for them, and they like it. So I would like to give a round. So I need to find the right button. Yes. So basically, my name, Robert Kurzbauer, I was already introduced. So basically, I have a small engineering office in Austria, very close to the Hungarian border, by the way, in Oberwart. And I'm working also for the company Rocktool. So maybe somebody knows and somebody don't know Rocktool, but basically Rocktool is a heat and cool provider, service provider with an engineering office, and also provide the heat and cool technology for the customers. That means this is a generator. The Rocktool technology is based on electrical heating via induction with an induction wire in the tool placed in the cavity behind the plastic part basically. So what you can see here, I don't know if this is working. Yeah. What you can see here is basically the cavity. And you have the cavity here, you have the cavity block, and you have basically the wire is placed behind the cavity, and then you have the cooling standard with water. What we do basically, we heat up this electrical wire, but by putting electricity in the wire, and the wire make an induction field, and the induction field is basically heating up the insert. This is the same what you have at home at the induction oven, for example, by electricity. What we can reach with this, and why we're doing this basically, because we can reach here a very high heating rate. That means we are speaking about 25 grad Celsius per second. And basically, this is helping us also to be very homogeneous in the heating of the cavity surface. Cooling is done, like I showed before, by standard water. So basically, our process is cool. We have a cooled down insert and only heat the area where we need the heat. Also, I mentioned that a lot of questions will come. Can we use standard steel because we have induction in the tool? Yes, we can use all standard steels by every tool maker in the world. The only thing what we have some problems is with chromium steels, because chromium steel has a big trade also in the thermal expansion, thermal conductivity. Basically, we see today a lot of machine manufacturers. So basically, Rocktool technology work with every machine manufacturer. So we have a contact to the machine and basically good experience with all of them. Short figure to Rocktool. Rocktool is a company about 60 people worldwide. We have several offices and a turnover about 10 million euro. From the 60 people, about 70% has PhD, so minimum a master or a doctorate degree. It is very important because this is a really interesting technology which you need a little bit more background in conductivity, thermal expansion, thermal conductivity and all of these areas. Industries, basically Rocktool is working most of the cases of 50-60% in the automotive industries. Why? I will show you later, but we also serve in the moment cosmetic industry. We have a lot of applications in medical and also in the normal electronic industry, I would call it like this. But these get really shrink because in the moment there's a big fight about prices and part prices. I don't know if everybody knows heat and cool technology. I try to explain this in 1 minute. So what is basically the heat and cool technology? Doesn't matter if you use another medium. We are doing this by electricity, but basically you have a tool. You heat up the tool by a medium. You inject the melt. The melt is cooling down by water. You see here in the middle. Oh, this is okay. No, not working. In the middle, doesn't matter. We cool down to the solidification. That means the part is basic solid. We open the tool and we inject. During the opening of the tool, we start the heating cycle again because we would like to use for the heating time also the opening and the takeout of the part. What you can see here is the curve. So basically in induction we have one phenomenon. When we switch off the induction still need about 2 to 3 seconds to compensate the overheating. So what I have is we have switched on by a certain point the induction. There's a little bit overheating to a certain temperature and then we inject the melt. What we have a thermocouple in the tool, and the thermocouple is basically giving us the right temperature when we have to inject. The normal temperature here in this case is 180, but the normal temperature is for PC-ABS, ABS some around 100 to 140 degree. Why we have this? Because we have here materials with a DG between 100 130 degrees Celsius, and we need to reach DG. I will show you why in the next slide. Conventional molding, I think everybody should know very clear. When we inject in the cavity surface, the steel surface, normally low temperature than the melt flow. What has happened is that we have a solid layer on the cavity surface. With the heat and cool technology, we try to avoid or we try to extend the time until this heated solidification will happen. So what we get, a very positive effect, for example, we can add flow lines. I think this is one slide I would like to spend a little bit longer time, because here I summarize, or I try to summarize, and I think you will get later a handout of this, all the improvements, all the positive things about heat and cool technology in general, and also about Rocktool. First of all, I would like to talk about the cosmetic and the complete overall improvement of the quality of the plastic part. Generally, we have a better texture replication, we have a better surface replication because we have not the solidification process on the surface, on the cold surface of the cavity. Also, it could be happened in some recycling materials that we have changing on the colors. What does this mean is that the color look more deeper. On the textured part, the color look more black when would be a black material. So we have here a very positive effect also on the appearance of the plastic part. Of course, we're talking a lot about mechanical properties of plastic parts. With these less solidification on the surface of the plastic part, we have also a big impact on various of mechanical properties on plastic part. Here I mentioned some of them. It depends on the material, it depends also on the gating, it depends on the tool design. A lot of components is very important, but from my point of view it's important also to mention it here that we could have also a positive effect not only on the nice appearance of the parts and also on the physical properties. What for me also important is we have a lot of influence on the general molding process performance, because we have a better filling. We can maybe apply longer holding pressure. We have a better demolding, for example. Sometimes, and this is not often, I said already before that I write down here that it depends case on case. You have reduced clamp force, for example, but these are side effects we are not selling in such. Of course, generally for the quality, generally we can reduce a lot of scrap. We have maybe a faster production startup. What does this mean is that after few shots, we have already a good plastic part. Maybe you need, in the conventional way, 15, 20, 30 shots to get really a good thermal balance in the tool. With Rogue Tool, we have this after the second shot. What also a big differentiator in Rogue Tool is, we have a proper engineering team with an engineering really focus on the heat and cool process. So that means that that's not only that we give you the generator and we give you the inductor and tell you how to put it in the tool. No, we also make really fundamental discussion with you. We also support you when you start up the engineering on it, and also give you clear advice in specific reports how to put these inductors in the mold and in the cavity, and also how to put the cooling. Short summary, only one slide, very fast, because later I will show you some examples what we have done so far. We have, first of all, the first two steps, what you see here is basically cost-free for the customer. So when a customer would approach, first of all, we would check if this resin, if this material, we know, we have to test, or we have to be clear what we have to do to reach for your product a good performance. The second thing, what we are selling is, what we are giving cost-free is basically a feasibility study, and this feasibility study contains all the details like how much energy you will need, which size of generator you will need, which is the expected cycle time, what very important. After we will receive the purchase order, we basically have an engineering and simulation. Sometimes we do also some mold flow when it's necessary. Then the tool is built by the tool maker of the customer choice. We have also partner, they're doing tools for our customers. Then we supply you the hardware and the complete hardware and installation in the tool and also in the machine. And basically we help you to start up the process and basically to help you also then to have a good product and with the customer also. So, I think this was the big theory around, and I want to come over this because we have a lot of examples of very nice plastic parts, and I hope they are sexy enough to wake everybody up here. But basically, this is some teaser, I would say. So everybody know that the coffee machine is produced here in Hungary, the top cover. The game console, what is for a famous game console producer in China. We have here different colors of mobile phone covers from a company is not existing anymore, it's called Motorola, now I can say it. We have these small chips for the keys that when you lose from tile. So there's a lot of challenge in all of these plastic parts, and I can tell you to every plastic part a story because it's from a formal company and they produce all of these plastic parts. Some newer things, and what is basically also very interesting is that a lot of companies in automotive area would like to remove paint from their plastic part. 1 layer, 2 layer, I don't know, they want to have a big, nice cosmetic, they won't like to develop something completely different for the, let's say, middle-sized cars. And here are some examples, starting to the left, I think this is, I can say it now, this is the new Polo. In the middle, this paint replacement is the old Mini. Here, very important, that was also a requirement to have good scratch resistance. And you have 2 colors, so you have a high gloss and a low gloss in the same tool. Of course, we help a lot on flow extension, especially on high heat materials, I call it like this. It's in the peak area, so really 240 degree tool temperature. Of course, we have some examples also outside on the table. It's about some special effects like rainbow effect. Everything is made by laser, by the way, so this is not traditional chemical texturing. This is not possible anymore, so we are working also together with these laser companies. Some night design from the various automotive companies. Of course, with this we can reach hydrophobic surface. And also we have an example from the K-Show last year with Engel together. we have a TV box, and this TV box is basically with 1.2 millimeter wall thickness and made from recycled material with a special nice rainbow surface. Without flow lines, without sink marks, without any problem with the recycling material when it comes from the supplier. Of course, comes a little bit more to applications like light diffusions, anti-reflection, remove internal stress in some headlamps. The big topic of myself is now also this microfluidic without compression molding, only by heat in different materials. Of course, the typical things like weld line removal and you have the foam part with you, so you can check the foam part. We have an example from the K-Show with holograms. And then together with our texturing partner, because we have here 4 components. This is first of all is the resin, is very important for us. So which kind of resin, who is the resin supplier, how good is the resin. The second thing is the texture partner, who is engraving basically the steel. This is the second thing I would say. Very important also the tool, of course, the tool design and the tool from this one. And then, last but not least, our Rocktool technology to have really a good heat and cool performance. So here I'm talking about super hydrophobic, anti-clear, micro-optics. We have silk parts, we can imitate silk with polypropylene and polyethylene parts. Future will be antibacterial. These ice-phobic things, here anti-reflection things, anti-soiling things, and of course some glueless bond. This means, I don't know in English the name, this when you put it together and then you have a special adhesion on it. So this is things what I could say and what I could disclose right now is in the development with our texturing partners. A short word to the anti-clear, for example, where is this used? We have a project with electric car manufacturer where they put in the camera optics in the housing this anti-glare to have no light reflection, to have a better optics and to see the pedestrian, for example, better. And then some things, some products I also would like to show, and I would focus more on the second half, on these beauty products. We see a big trend, of course, Rocktool is a French company, but we see a big trend also in the cosmetic and the beauty industry, because the beauty industry and the cosmetic industry has to change a lot. First of all, they have to release the ABS, and they would like to change to another material, and this is in most of the cases a PET. Second thing is that have also other processes like blow molding, and we also try to play a role in the blow molding. Because these cosmetic bottles, maybe men don't know it, but these cosmetic bottles are blow molded and painted and then printed later. So what they try to reach with Rocktool is we heat in the moment, we have one tool in mass production, we heat in the moment the blow molding surface. Basically this is blow molded, so this is blown out. And then you have a surface, let's say a frosty grain surface on the bottle, and you only have to basically print the part. The next step is the compacts. So this is some beauty cases where I have some colors inside. Sorry, I cannot explain this because I don't use it. I have no clue, but I know only the plastic parts for these. So basically, these parts basically should be high gloss, should have a super nice surface, should be very extremely cheap, should have a very thin skin. There's a lot of challenges on this. Also, these jars, this cream. First time I met this 1.5 years ago, that we're doing some injection molding jar, very thick parts. And we can change the color with the temperature of Rocktool. We can change the color in the thickness of the part. So we make this frosty, this darkness, not by painting anymore, but by heating only the surface and try to heat a certain time that the color of the jar is basically changing. Of course, I would say the unique finish, this would be my last one. Rocktool is basically coming from the composite area. So there was basically 15 years ago a composite project that for the composite, for example, you need some pressure and a lot of heat. And therefore somebody was thinking about to take induction heating, put in a tool, put the composite part with the layers, with the mats inside, press it down and heat it up with Rocktool a long time. But some clever guys also developed then some for the injection molding, and therefore Rocktool is a lot used in injection molding. Some application from the automotive, because I think a lot of people from automotive also here, what we can disclose. Especially in the middle, this matte and close, no paint. So we can put in a plastic part a very high closed surface with a very matte surface, for example, for different kind like a display cover. We have also some project for the F-150 in US that's a complete overhead console with Rocktool, and there's no paint on this. So we try to replace all the painting, with the customer we try to replace all the painting, we try to have focusing on the grain, on the scratch resistance, everything to replicate with the Rocktool process and with the material supplier. Of course then for some, you see here a little bit this Neo is a little bit visible, carbon fiber plates first made by Rocktool and then overmolded by injection molding, for example. Some business what we have also is a lot of 2K applications. In special here what we are allowed to show is the brake light. This part is normally 1.50 meters long and conventional in polycarbonate not moldable or not easy moldable, let's say it like this. And with the Rocktool technology we heat up before we inject, so we have no problem with thermal balance on this tool. It's normally cooled, only heated in the area where we need. And last but not least, I would like to show you some present application. What is very important for us also to show is this velvet effect. GF has made a lot of experiments to make a special texture what we can only replicate with the Rocktool technology. And of course, I said before, this is this frosty effect on the bottle. This is something what is really now coming, what the people ask for. There's various applications for these two technologies, I would say, in between, yeah. Because we have here anti-reflection properties, what we can use for other applications. So there's a lot of, when we show the parts to the customers get a lot of other ideas, get a lot of inspiration only because looking at the part and having some special applications. And one initiative, what our CEO had, I think 2 years ago, is called eco-molding. So we are talking about sustainable material, we have the Rocktool process and we have the surface technologies. And this brings a very good, combination for the future for the injection molding. Because the question was also today, what's the future, what is the next 10 years? I'm 100% sure we will live from a lot of sustainable materials, so we will collect the materials, we will do something with the materials, we have to process the materials again, and we have to make very nice parts with this. And the Rocktool can help a lot. And some examples only. PCR means post-consumer recycled material, by the way, so this was not written down here. But basically, you see the comparison with and without Rocktool. What is the problem with post-consumer materials in general? They have no gloss. They have a very low color intensity, I would say. And when they are mixed with some other materials, they have a lot of inclusions. Also rubber and other contamination could be inside, and here we could help a lot. So in the gloss area, 100%. But of course we are living from the quality of the recycling companies. So thank you very much. Good 15 minutes. When there's any questions, we are also outside, have some parts to show. I hope the part is somewhere, I'm still here. So please give a round. I hope I could answer all the questions. And maybe I create some more, so we are looking forward. Remo is our the VP, head of sales from Rocktool. You see on my email address, I'm external supporting the company in the area of tooling, so when there's any questions, please contact me. Thank you.